Hey everyone, this is Manshark Sub LPs. I'm Sub, and this is Odyssey, the Invention of Science. I have not played this game yet, so let's just get right into it. Loading screen. Yeah. So we'll probably have to configure some options and that sort of deal. Apparently this game is an exploration regarding, sciencey stuff. Hopefully it works. By the Young Socratics, apparently.
Mayday! 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 This is a distress call from the wretched islands. We got attacked by sailors. They think there's actual buried treasure here, and they sunk our boat to force us to find it. Our radio is barely working, so if you can hear me, that means you're close. Please don't leave to find help. There's no time. Come pick us up yourself. Now, please, listen carefully. This is really important. There are lots of little islands, but you have to dock at the pier on the east side of Wretched Minor. Don't try to land anywhere else or you'll crash. And we can't meet you at the pier. We won't know you're there, and those sailors are coming back, so we're hiding. We made a lot of barricades to protect ourselves, but we designed them for someone to get through. I could tell the sailors weren't very clever and didn't care about science, but you'll be able to figure it out. You'll see what I mean when you get here. I really hope someone's out there listening to this recording. All the obstacles we made won't keep those sailors away forever, and when they find us and see we haven't found any treasure, not the kind they want anyway, I don't want to think about what'll happen. But if you're listening to me now, that means the radio still has enough juice to transmit, so there's probably still time, but if you don't get us off these wretched islands, and soon, no one will.
Sounds legit, not like a trap at all. Okay, so we've got walk. Wow, that's real sensitive. And we can look. That's super sensitive. Let's turn that right down. Let's say to 0.3. Yeah, roughly. And movement speed can go down to, yeah, that's good as well. Okay. It's a bit better, but it's still pretty twitchy. Bear with me on this. 2.2, and we'll put that down to 2.8. We'll put looks moving down a little bit as well. Oh, that's suddenly way too slow. Maybe if we put looks moving back up, that'll fix it. Yeah, actually. And movement seems fine. Cool. Well, here we are. We were on a boat. Oh god, that's still real twitchy. Turn that down and turn that up a little bit. Still feels a little bit too sensitive. Okay, that's... Oh god, no, okay. What if we turn that right down so it doesn't actually do anything? Okay, I think we're getting somewhere now, guys. Okay, I think that might be alright. I can do an almost... One movement of my mouse gives me a sort of a... Oh, jeez. Turn it down a little bit more. I just don't want to be scrubbing the mouse everywhere. Yep, that's pretty good. Alright, what do we got here? Okay, this might be the people we're trying to save. Alright, let's go do some... Oh god, do I not strafe? No, I can strafe like that. Hang on. And then... Oh, that's weird. Okay, these controls are a little jank. A bit hard to tell because I'm on this pathway sort of thing. We'll work it out when we get to clearer terrain. Okay. We've taken a journal. Now we're about to begin our Odyssey. Dad wants me to start a journal to record what I learn and everything that happens. Both my parents are university professors, so even summer vacation for me and my 15-year-old brother, Sid, pictured here, is like school. It's fun though, especially this summer, because my classroom won't have walls and it's in the Caribbean, smiley face. Dad's an archaeologist, pictured here, and he's wanted to visit the wretched islands for years. Jeez, sounds like a great place. but it's illegal. For lots of reasons, from endangered species to volcanic activity to deadly coastlines. And it's hard to get to since it's surrounded by jagged rocks. Dad finally got permission, and we're going there to do some preliminary work before bringing his army of grad students. We flew here to Martinique 4 days ago to rent a boat, get supplies, and pick up our guide Guillaume. Guillaume, I think. His real job is being a fisherman, but a year ago we got shipwrecked on a wretched island and somehow survived it, and lived there a week until a helicopter saw smoke from his campfire, pictured here. It made the news, since he's the only person who's been on the islands in decades, so Dad asked him to come with us, and he agreed. Yeah, it seems like to get qualified as a guide, all you'd have to do is shipwreck yourself. Dad says it's an unusual sight because it has so many layers, with a capital L. No, that's a small L with a tail on it. For hundreds of years, island Caribs lived there, pictured here, till one day in the late 1600s, pirates came with guns, pictured here. We took over and set up a base for decades before being driven out by the Royal Navy. The islands were left alone until the US Army built an outpost there in World War II, mainly as a lookout. I guess they could have done that, yeah. Then it got protected status and it's been off limits ever since, pictured here. Geez, this is going to go for a while. Sorry guys, it's reading time. Except for us now, when we get there. We're sleeping on the boat, so we can just wake up and go at like 4 in the morning. Both wind and current are against us, so it will take a few days, even using the motor. Until then, we're looking at photos of the islands from airplanes and satellites. Dad doesn't look at them with us. He's already looked at them hundreds of times. Pictured here. That's a pretty damn good drawing if it's like accurate. July 3rd, 6:30 p.m. Wind was high and the waves were choppy most of the past couple of days, but when the sun set, everything calmed. I'm going to say Gulam, because that's just how I naturally pronounce that. Gulam is good with boats. Apparently not, he's shipwrecked. So Dad's letting him do most of the driving. I don't think it's called driving, I think it's called piloting. He's also doing most of the eating, which is usually Sid's job, but he seems happy to let Gulam do that too, pictured here. Sitting on the bow with my legs dangling off the edge, Sid came and sat with me. He pointed out how flat the ocean looked. He said he could see why people got laughed at thousands of years ago for saying the world was round. We're in the city of the mountains. You can't tell by looking around what shape the whole world is. We take it for granted today that the Earth is a sphere, but Sid's right. Oh god, we're going full flat earther now. Here on the ocean, it looks like it's completely flat and goes on forever. Pictured here. Why did anyone back then ever think it wasn't? That's a fallacy. Go watch some videos on it, guys. Seriously. I think Folding Ideas has a great video on it. Like, really well done. I mean, how could they figure it out without having planes and rockets or even ships to go around the world and see for themselves? The ships did work it out, because you'd see the sail appear before the rest of the boat. Mum and Dad were behind us listening. Mum said she bet I could figure it out, but she always says stuff like that. I asked her how, and she just laughed and said she's just the construction crew. Dad's in charge of historical mysteries. It's true she's a civil engineer, but she knows more science than anyone I know. That's, Look, if you're a good civil engineer, you know a lot of science, because engineering is applied science. So just, come on. But Dad also knows history, so maybe she's right that he'd be more help on this one. I asked him how people figured out the Earth isn't flat and doesn't go off to infinity in all directions. He just smiled and said, keep your eyes open and your brain in gear. Pictured here. Oh my god, this has to be ending soon. July 4th, 6:15 p.m. Happy Independence Day. Land ho! We could see the wretched islands, though not all of them. If we had fireworks, I'd set them off to celebrate seeing land, and because it's the 4th of July. Oh, there we go. We do have a lot of cool equipment and supplies. Nothing like that. Here are the wretched islands. See, if it was flat and stretched in all directions, you just wouldn't have seen these. They would have always been there. Anyway, I'm documenting the trip with my camera too. I guess this is a photo. Yeah, it's a photo stuck on there. My friends think it's funny that I have a digital camera, not just my phone, but phone cameras aren't good at taking pictures of things far away. True. We know we're in the right place because our GPS tells us where we are. When we're 5 kilometers out, we drop anchor for the night, pictured here. Approaching the islands will be tricky, so we want to do it with plenty of daylight. We'll go first thing in the morning. I don't know how we'd have gotten here without GPS. Mum said the North Star is like... ancient GPS. It's called Polaris because it's over the North Pole, and I already know how to find it. 2 stars of the Big Dipper point at it. Pictured here. Okay, it's kind of hand-feeding as this one. And because I looked up, I saw that there was a Big Dipper on the sign that we're looking at right now, if the book wasn't here. They're easy to find at home because you can't see as many other stars with all the city lights, but out at sea, there are so many stars, it's harder to find constellations. It's so beautiful. I've taken dozens of pictures at all times of night, like when I wake up and can't fall back asleep, pictured here. Mum said that if it's cloudy and you can't see stars, a magnetic compass will tell you where north approximately is, but the North Star is better because it points exactly north. Pretty cool, but I'm glad we have the GPS. And that's the end of that. Okay, so we need to find north. Can I spacebar get through that? So it was this star and this star point at the North Star, so it must be that one. Can I just... Yes? Done. Okay, maybe the SFX are up a little loud. I thought I turned everything like way down. You can barely hear the water anyway. Alright, so we've passed the first barrier. I mean, you could have totally... You didn't... Like, I mean, if you've got a boat, then yeah, you'd have to dock it there. But you could quite easily get like a dinghy or a rowboat and come in here. Alright. Okay, so the movement... let's just see how this works. So if I push straight forward and then push strafe, it does drift that way, but it's like... Oh, come on, guys. It's like the first thing you see. It's not really a great... Like, it's not like a Call of Duty strafe or anything like that. But if I actually hit strafe, yeah, it's not too bad. Yeah, it does it for moving forward when you're trying to strafe as well. Alright, let's have a little bit of a look around. Strafing is going to make that a little bit more obnoxious. I still feel like the sensitivity of the mouse is too high. Oh yeah, we can run now. Running still has the same movement issues. Huh, there's a path up that way. Nice water. Very clear. That must be part of the old US military base over there. They wouldn't have built that. That's just a shack. Alright. So that's a boat. Let's go up here. Okay, we've got a little house. Excuse me. Check the perimeter first. Does that path come up here too? We'll just check that. Yeah, that path does come up here. Okay, cool. Alright, you know what? We're going to fiddle with the settings again. I'm going to turn a little bit of looks moving on, maybe 0.1. And I'll turn the sensitivity up again slightly. Alright, maybe that feels a little bit better. Alright, let's see if we can get into this house, see what's up. Oh wait, 1 second. Okay. Well, that's the only way forward, so there must be something in the house for us. Door, yep. Okay, we can't actually get past that. Alright, open it up. Okay, I mean, you are kind of hand-feeding this one. Wow. So now we have a puzzle piece? I mean, that's one way to get through a puzzle. If you're smart, you'll figure it out. Huh, okay. Excuse me. A little bit more stuff around. Let's go this way, check out this, looks like an old fortification. I'm really not liking the whole strafing thing. Okay. So this will be where the puzzle piece goes, but let's do a little bit of light reading first. Is that... Okay, just this journal. July 4th, 9:15 p.m. After dinner, Dad asked if I'd seen anything yet that would tell me the Earth doesn't go off to infinity in all directions. I hadn't, but it seemed obvious to me that it couldn't. If it did, at sunset, the sun would crash into the Earth, pictured here. Dad said ancient people had different ideas. Some believe the sun disappeared behind distant mountains of the west and travelled around out of sight to rise in the east. Others believed that the gods hid the sun in a boat at sunset and ferried it across the ocean at night to rise again from the east. But if you thought the sun was hidden in a boat all night, what could convince you that was wrong? Dad told me to look at the photos I'd taken of the stars, pictured here obviously. I knew Polaris didn't move in the sky, but the rest did, and that's what Dad told me to look at. Comparing photos, I could see the star closest to Polaris moving in a little circle around it. Every star seemed to move in a circle around Polaris, and the farther away the star was from it, the bigger its circle. Most stars are far enough away from Polaris that you couldn't see their whole circle because for part of it, the star dipped below the horizon. Pictured here. It's actually a pretty impressive, yeah. Cool. And with constellations, if some of their stars travelled in boats across the sea after setting, or went behind mountains to travel around them, their trajectories during that period would be different from the other stars in their constellation that always stayed in the sky. That would mess them up. It was far more reasonable to think that everything in the sky travelled in complete circles and the horizon just stopped you from seeing it all. So the Earth couldn't go on forever in all directions. This also meant there was space all around the Earth, not just above it, for the stars to be able to go all around. When I explained this to Dad, he was impressed. He said this was a reasonable argument to show that the Earth's size was finite. Now could I show that the Earth isn't flat? July 5th, 7:30 a.m. At first light, just before sunrise, we weighed anchor and started the engines. But it'll still take a couple more hours to get to the wretched islands. Dad's letting Gillarm steer. When we got on course, Dad asked me if I had seen anything to show that the Earth wasn't flat. I hadn't, and he said to get my camera. And again he said to get my camera, but this time look at pictures I'd taken of the islands. Yeah, this is where it comes in, yeah. I had lots. Some were just tops of island peaks, and others showed more. Dad asked me to describe the differences. I told him the islands looked bigger as we got closer, and we can see more of them too. Mum asked what I meant by seeing more, and I showed her how when we were far away we could only see the mountain tops because the horizon blocked our view of the bottoms. That was it. When you get farther from something, it gets smaller, but also the horizon blocks more and more of its bottom. That would only happen if the ocean is curved. I figured that the problem was solved, but Dad said, not quite. A few minutes later, the sun rose, and when it was halfway up, he asked me why the horizon line across the sun wasn't curved. I said the Earth is so big that it just looks straight for so short a distance across the sun. Dad shook his head. Early people didn't know the Earth was so big, but even if they thought it might be, they believed if the world was round enough to block the bottom of the mountains just a couple dozen kilometers away, it would be round enough to see it curve across the sun. They said that the ocean, I did not put my phone on silent, of course. They said that the ocean blocked the bottom of mountains and ships because the Earth was curved a bit here and there. What? They said that the ocean blocked the bottom of mountains and ships because the Earth was curved a bit here and there. Locally. Alright, I'm getting confused by her L's. They seem like capitals to me. But the straight horizon line at sunrise and sunset proved the Earth as a whole was flat. Sid teased me. Nice try, Kai. You've got a long way to go to prove to Dad that the Earth is a sphere. This is just the beginning. I don't know what he means, but I think I'm going to find out soon. July 5th, 9:45 a.m. We're still sailing the rest of the way to the wretched islands. I just argued with Dad. It's going to turn out that Dad's a flat earther here. But because the horizon covers the base of the mountain, that means the Earth is round, and a straight horizon across the sun makes it look flat, so it's a tie between the round and flat Earth views. Except not really, because the straight horizon doesn't prove anything. A basketball looks very round, but when you put your eye close to it, the edge looks a lot straighter. The horizon just looks straight because we're so close to the Earth's surface. For example, Is it going to always highlight like the is it going to always highlight the actual answer to the problem that's going to come up? Because that's going to be annoying. Our dad seemed pleased by my argument, but he said ancient people had other reasons to believe the Earth was flat. If the Earth were a sphere, then people on the exact opposite side, which the Greeks called antipodes, would be upside down with their feet above their heads. Why wouldn't they fall off? What was keeping the whole world from falling down? Spoiler, we are upside down with our feet above our heads over here in Australia. So, checkmate, flat earthers. Dad asked me if I could think of a way to make sense of this without talking about modern ideas like gravity. These were very strange ideas. If they thought a round Earth would fall, wouldn't they think a flat Earth would also fall? But Dad said they believed the flat Earth floated on water underneath it, like a giant piece of wood. Or maybe the ground just went down forever. Excuse me, it's a lot of reading. But a round Earth couldn't float in empty space without something holding it up. And surely antipodes could stand upside down under the Earth. Pictured here. I need to spend some time thinking about this, but later. Right now we're just minutes away from the wretched islands. Oh, okay, there's more. The pier is in good shape for being over 70 years old. The army built it in World War II. Dad says any older artifacts will be mostly underground in volcanic caves he read about in army records. Alarm says he saw large ruins above ground, but that was on the far side of the wretched islands, and we don't know how to get there. But if the native Caribs and the later pirates did, there must be a way. Yeah, they just used the World War II bridges. For now, all we see are leftovers from the US Army days, like bridges, cables running overhead, a small building just up from the pier, and small shelters. Mum thinks they were to cover food stores and other supplies, hence there are also empty barrels and crates around. There isn't much left here in the old building, besides a bunch of cables and clamps, and some funny boxes the army left behind. The boxes don't lock or anything, you just push a button to open them, but it only works when they're plugged into electricity. That seems like a pretty poor thing for the army to bring with them, to, like that's not security. And electricity out here is probably not easy to get. We brought a lot of solar panel arrays with us for free power. Excuse me. And save fuel for our diesel-powered electric generator. And Sid hooked up the boxes one at a time, but they were all empty. We might use them to keep stuff in, though. Up on a lookout point is a statue or monument of a globe. It's covered with little square holes and has a handle we couldn't open at first. One of the many holes had a peg in it, and there was another peg on the ground. We figured out that sticking the second peg in a certain hole released a lock, so the handle could pull open to reveal a secret compartment. Yeah, I'm sure the army built this. It was empty, but Sid saw that he could switch the linkages inside to whichever two peg holes we wanted for the lock. Just for fun, I found a couple figurines in a box of junk I have, attached them to the pegs. While Sid changed the lock to open when one peg was placed in the Caribbean where we are, and the other at its antipode. Pictured here. We'll probably hide something in there later. There are a couple of empty cans of beans in the shack. They didn't look 70 years old to me. Dad frowned when he saw them, saying it looked like some people have been here against the law. We didn't get to explore the rest of this little island piece today. There are lots of cliffs everywhere, and Mum and Dad wanted us to do it all together, to be safe. Today we just unloaded equipment and supplies, temporarily setting up in the shack just up from the pier. I want to sleep outside under the stars, but Dad says he wants walls around with us tonight. He was looking at the old food cans when he said it. I think it really bothers him that people have been here recently. Okay, cool. So, here's a battery. Here's a solar panel. Geez, I'm really not liking this sensitivity, you know? Let's try turning it down again. Like in a puzzle game. And, I mean, obviously, you can put in our little puzzle pieces like that, and we'll have to... Once it's complete, there's going to be like a wire running through it, which will allow the electricity to go through to whatever's up there. But if you really wanted to, these are clamps. There's enough pull on that one to reach this one. You could totally just unclamp them and like jam them together. Alternatively, I guess that really it's bolted in place or nailed in place if you want to get technical. But yeah, you could totally join that cable to that cable and skip this puzzle piece. Anyway, Yeah, so here's the box. That's probably got the other peg in it, which we need to put directly opposite this one. So there's a pretty easy way of figuring that out. It's on the line. It's one up from the equator. So you come around here to the line and put it one down. It'll be that spot there. But we need the peg first, which is probably in that box. So we need to go and find 2 more puzzle pieces. See if we can get around any more reading as well. Nice game though. It was, here's a puzzle piece in here, so. Can I? Thank you. Yeah, I know. Okay, so there's still one more puzzle piece somewhere. No, that's some invisible walls. It's only about $5 when I picked it up because it was Steam's winter sale. No, summer sale actually. It's winter here when it's summer there. That looks like a puzzle piece. No. Okay, well, we're not going to make that jump. We have to turn that bridge around to here. I think there was an achievement for doing that. So we'll have to work out how to do that later on. In the meantime, let's continue up the hill here. Little butterflies. Hey, is that a fruit tree? Maybe. What do you reckon? Puzzle piece in here? Yep. Before we go and fill that in though, let's just have a little squiz up here. Now, I think those are flowers, not... Yeah, those are flowers, not oranges. I thought they might have been oranges. Okay. And climb up that if we want to. We probably have to at some point, so let's go. Goes up pretty high, doesn't it? I have no idea how big this game is, by the way. Okay, well that's a generator. Oh my, okay. Wow. I don't think we're going to mess with that just yet because, I mean, we'll click on it and see what the deal is. Yeah, none of these are moving because it's obviously unpowered. Because we don't have this going. We don't have a key. I don't even know if we've got fuel. Anything else around here? Doesn't look like it. Looks like it's just the generator. Alright. Running down the mountainside like we were born in a farm. Or a barn. Oh yeah, I didn't see that there was like a little lamp there. Alright, so we're going to complete this puzzle over here, the world's easiest jigsaw puzzle. Well, I guess the world's 4th easiest jigsaw puzzle. Alright, so that one to there, and that one to there. Very nice. Completely unnecessary. Right, we hit the box. The antipode unlocks the globe. Yeah, we got that. Like, how dumb were these pirates? Like, seriously. Okay, we got the key as well, and an updated journal. More reading. July 5th, 9 o'clock. Hey, eventually the pirate's going to show up and they're going to get, like, you know... What are you called? she's not going to be able to write anything. Unpacking the boat and setting up camp all day, I had lots of time to think about antipodes. I finally understood that the ancients thought down was a fixed direction in the universe and had nothing to do with where the Earth was. For us, that direction happens to be towards the ground, but for anyone on the other side of the world, that direction would be away from the ground and would fall off. Yeah, we gotta keep our harnesses working down here in Australia. Like, if your harness, is a bit rusty, you're gonna have issues. But if down instead meant towards the center of the Earth, then the antipodes wouldn't fall off. No matter where you were on the surface of a spherical Earth, the down direction for you would be towards the ground beneath your feet, because that's the direction of the center. Oh, wow. All this reading's making me tired, because that's the center of the Earth. Pictured there. I asked Dad what he thought about redefining down like this. He said that there was an ancient Greek philosopher named Anaximander who had done a similar thing. Anaximander, pictured here, of course. Note the key differences between Aristotle and Anaximander. Anaximander has this moustache. Aristotle has this moustache and hair. Interestingly, Anaximander believed the Earth was flat, but based on the trajectories of the stars, he had come to the conclusion that there was empty space all around the flat Earth. So the Earth was freely floating in space at the center of the universe. It had no tendency to fall down, because down meant towards the center of the universe, and the Earth was already there, already at the center of the universe. Pictured here, basically. It had no reason to move in any preferred direction from there. Any choice of direction to move along, outwards from the center, would be arbitrary. I told Dad that someone could have said the same thing for a spherical Earth. It's already at the center of the universe, so it can't fall down anymore. And antipodes on its surface wouldn't fall off either, since they would fall down towards the center of the universe. Dad agreed, and he said tomorrow was a good time to introduce me to Aristotle, one of the greatest of Greek philosophers. He's hanging out on this island. July 5th, 11:45. I woke up a while ago and couldn't get back to sleep. Too much going on in my head. I went outside and found Dad on the porch looking through binoculars. It wasn't pitch black, not with the stars and a quarter moon just above the horizon, but it was still too dark to see much. When he noticed me, he said he thought he saw a light out to sea. He said it was nothing, but seems worried. Since I was awake, Dad said he'd tell me about Aristotle's physics, which people throughout Europe believed for almost 2,000 years, and how it was similar to my thinking today. In other words, you're wrong. Aristotle believed everything in the world around us was made of combinations of 4 elements: earth, water, fire, and air. Kind of like solids, liquids, gases, and heat, respectively. I guess, yeah, okay. The natural tendency of the element Earth was to fall towards the center of the universe. Water also falls, but not as fast as Earth, which is why water, like an ocean, lies on top of Earth, even though they're both heavy. Air is a light element. We're all learning stuff today. It's exhausting. And wants to rise, which is why if you release air underwater, it bubbles up. So air forms a blanket around Earth and water. Fire is the lightest and rises fastest, like how a flame goes up even if you hold a candle upside down. Aristotle said all natural motion was either towards the center of the universe, down, or away from the center of the universe, up. The 4 elements pictured here, of course. This tendency of Earth causes its particles to arrange themselves symmetrically around the center of the universe. The ball that results is our planet Earth, and since the Earth is already at the center of the universe, it has no reason to move anymore, so it's stationary at the center. I point out a glaring problem. The sun, moon, and stars don't move toward or away from the center of the universe. They move in circles, around and around, from our point of view. Dad said Aristotle believed heavenly bodies were made of a 5th element called ether. Oh boy. Anything made of ether is divine and moves in perfect circles, never stopping or changing its behavior. Yeah, this is the part where good old Aristotle should have been all like, hang on, this is special pleading. Like, he's supposed to be a logician. But this is like, these elements all act like this, except for this one out here, because if it acted in the way that I'm saying that these other ones do, it would disprove my shit, so therefore it's special. Aristotle said the universe had an inner terrestrial realm made of the 4 elements and an outer celestial realm made of ether. Whew! I have to think about this some more, but I'm sleepy. You and me both, kid. The middle of the night isn't the best time to exercise my brain. Neither is apparently the middle of the day. July 6, 1 p.m. The wretched islands are complicated. I would have said they're wretched. It's mostly two islands, major and minor, but each is actually a cluster of little island bits close together with treacherous cliffs and water between them. We're on wretched minor, and Dad believes the Caribs built rope bridges to get around safely, but he's not sure he'll find any evidence to prove it after more than 3 centuries. The Army Corps of Engineers built their own bridges here for World War II. They're still here. Mum says it'll take us days to repair them. They're half concrete, half wooden, where the wooden half can pivot with a hand crank to retract like closing a drawbridge in case enemies attacked, and also to connect with different places. And overhead are what look like zip lines for fast travel, or maybe a way to retreat fast in an emergency. Sweet! Here's the rotating bridge. Dad said the Army built outposts on Wretched Major too, but it took a year with modern ships and equipment. There's no way primitive boats, or even one like ours, could land there because of the cliffs and the fast current and dangerous rocks around the coastline. But Army records show they found larger ruins there. I apologize for all the yawning, by the way. Which Guillaume saw for himself when he shipwrecked on Wretched Major. Shipwrecked on Wretched Major, okay. How anyone centuries ago could get there from here to build anything is a big mystery Dad wants to solve. The mystery on my mind is Aristotle's physics. It seems to explain how things fall or rise, and also explain how the Earth could be round. Yet it says the Earth is sitting still at the center of the whole universe. I wish I could find some other direct evidence that proves the Earth is round, without also leading me to such bizarre conclusions. What could it be? Okay. So, having been up on top of the island, I'm pretty sure I know where we're getting at with the whole Aristotelian physics stuff. But let's head back up there and solve a puzzle. Now that we have the key for the generator. So those are zip lines? I thought they looked more like transmission wires, to be honest. I mean, I guess looking at what they're attached to, yeah, they'd have to be zip lines, but I don't know, do you normally have clusters of 4 of them? I guess you could have, it depends how they've got them set up, actually. You could have 2 sets of 2, or, 2 loops, basically. I'll admit I'm not across zipline construction. Alright, here we are. Let's get this generator started. Cool. Alright, here we are. So, if I remember right, Earth first. That looks like Earth. Then water. Then air. Then fire. Then special pleading. Sweet. Oh, hey, there we go. We got an achievement. Is that like a... There's no crouch up. It looks just like a junction box or something. This kid writes too much. July 6, 3:45 p.m. On top of a tall peak of Wretched Minor is where the Army built its observation post. Dad says it's a shame. He believes I'm already getting tired reading this. He believes the Caribs built their own observatory here, but all evidence of it was destroyed. He knows because the Army photographed and stored what they found here, and Dad got to see the records. They didn't do a good job by archaeology standards, but he said it was amazing they recorded any of it at all for being soldiers in the middle of a war. I am not aware of much activity in the Caribbean during the Second World War. I'll admit that's because it's probably a blind spot of mine in my education, because my education focused on European and Pacific theaters. But I would have to imagine that there wasn't a lot of it. Maybe some U-boat stuff, but yeah, I can't imagine there being a ton of activity on that side of the Atlantic. Anyway, Dad thinks a lot of evidence was already destroyed by pirates in the 17th century, though. They set up a base and used this peak as their own lookout. Pretty sure that's bad grammar structure, kid. Work on that. That was good luck, because the pirates also wrote about their time here, and much of this survived in lockboxes and glass bottles the army found. Right, sure. Dad said it's hard to learn about the Caribs directly, because they didn't leave much behind that can endure for centuries. Even though the pirates destroyed so much, their logbooks preserved more information about the Caribs than Dad than if they had never come. Okay. The door to the Army Observatory can only be locked from inside, so the door was left unlocked when the Army abandoned the islands after the war. Inside, the structure has 3 floors, connected with ladders going up through the trapdoors. Almost everything has been stripped out, except for some tables and chairs. The top floor has 2 different exits leading outside. One of them is through a lookout room, leading to another rotating bridge, which seems to connect to the other exit, and that seems strange. It might be just to give soldiers access to the 2 zip lines connecting to the other 2 pieces of wretched miner. Sid says he wants to fix the zip lines, but Mum says later. The bridges have to come first. The best part is we get to sleep up here tonight. Pictured a zip line? Although, it's not really a zip line if it's 2-directional, is it? Because that looks like it's intended more like a cable car. I told Dad I couldn't think of a direct way to prove the Earth was round. He said a dinner plate is round but flat. You mean round like a ball, and so is a sphere? Wow. I mean, yeah, that's the point, but that's kind of a dickish way to go about it, Dad. He hadn't talked about this difference before, and he pointed to the quarter moon and said, "It looked round, but was it a disc or a sphere?" I said it looked like a sphere, but I couldn't prove it. He said that was reasonable, and that ancient people worked it out with observations over longer periods than just looking up in the sky one night. Yeah, you watch the phases. Watching the moon go through phases from a waxing, growing crescent up to a full moon, and then back to a waning, shrinking crescent. The ancient Greek philosopher Parmenides, not to be mistaken by the ancient Greek philosopher Boethius, noticed a pattern. The right part of the moon was always in the direction of the sun. You can see this best during the day when the moon is a crescent, and the lit side is always on the side of a nearby sun. What caused this pattern? The explanation Parmenides came up with is that the moon didn't cast its own light, it just reflected sunlight. That's why the bright part always faced the sun, pictured here. He said that's even more evidence the sun is travelling in empty space on the other side of the Earth at night. If the sun were hidden inside a boat or a dragon, such as this dragon here, its light couldn't shine on the moon. Dad agreed. He also added that one could easily prove the moon had to be a sphere. He pointed up at the quarter moon above and said there was no way you could shine a light on a flat disk and have it look like that. That was hard to wrap my head around. Even if you shone the light at the right angle, was there no way to light up only a crescent part of a disk? No, there isn't. Seriously? Dad said the best way to prove it was to try it, so if I have time tomorrow, I'll construct a physical model and see. July 7, 2:30 p.m. Why do you date this? You don't need to... why do you time this? The date is fine. I twisted my ankle, helping fix the lower bridge. Galam carried me up into the bunker, and Sid got some ice from the boat. Mum says it's pretty bad, and I need to take it easy, probably for days. Now I'm stuck here with an ice pack, pictured here. Mum, Sid and Galam are back fixing the bridge, and Dad's working here in the bunker, carefully photographing and documenting everything, looking for anything else left behind that might tell him something about the Caribs or the pirates. It doesn't seem like there's much around, though. I think he just doesn't want me to be alone up here. Oh yeah, she's making the model. I got out my project supplies and made models to test what Dad and I talked about last night. I made 2 moons, a flat disc from an old round piece of plywood, and a sphere of one out of a styrofoam ball. My project supplies are half stuff you get from a craft store and half salvage from the junkyard near my house. Hey, this kit's cool. Including a bunch of those cool crank wheels that make gears and sliders go back and forth. I mounted a light on the track to act like the sun between the two. You could have just gotten a light and held it and moved it physically. You didn't have to between the 2 moons so I could crank it forward and backward. I could have just held the models up to the light, but I wanted to be precise. Okay. You don't need to be precise about this. Like, you don't need it on a crank. You could just put them there and they'd be fine. The spherical moon shows all the different phases the real moon does, but the disk moon is only ever completely dark or completely lit, with no phases in between. This proves it. The real moon has to be a sphere. Not only that, but I realized the only way to get crescent or quarter moons, like we're having at night right now, is for the sun to be further away than the moon. From the Earth, that is. It's still at least an hour till dinner time. I don't think anyone will come back till then. In the meantime, I think I'll paint these models to look like the real moon. Maybe I can bring it to school next year for extra credit. I showed everyone my model, especially the setting where the sun's light barely hits the flat moon, but still lights it all uniformly, proving that phases are only possible if the moon is a sphere. But I did see how this helped prove the Earth was a sphere too. I asked Dad, but instead of answering, he told us how the pirates conquered the Caribs on the wretched islands. I mean, Dad, come on. Answer the, come on. The pirates, even with guns, couldn't invade because rope bridges made them vulnerable, but they had something better than guns. They had knowledge. According to their astronomical navigation charts, a lunar eclipse was due November 6, 1672. Okay, I'm not too sure if the pirates had, like, that level of stuff, but I'll admit I don't know. The pirates told the Caribs that if they weren't welcomed, the moon god would get angry and rise dark and red. Christopher Columbus tricked a different tribe in the Caribbean this way long before, and they hoped it would work for them too. I'd say that Columbus was on par with some of the, lying pirate scum here. The Caribs didn't believe the pirates, but when the day came, the moon rose dark and red. All the Caribs panicked except for one. The Carib astrologer said it had nothing to do with the pirates. The moon was just in the Earth's shadow and would soon emerge. The Carib astrologer explained how moon phases show the moon doesn't make light, it just reflects sunlight. Here is the Carib astrologer. And how the moon must be a sphere to have phases, and a crescent moon is only possible if the sun is further away. For example, and example. And with the moon and sun on similar paths, the moon can sometimes block the sun. Why else would solar eclipses happen only during a new moon? And when the sun is on the other side, the Earth can get between the sun and the moon, and its shadow would fall on the moon. Why else would lunar eclipses only happen during a full moon? The Carib astrologer said that's what was happening, and it would be over soon if they waited. But the Caribs were too afraid and didn't believe their own astrologer. As the night continued and the moon stayed dark red, they gave in. Months later, the wretched islands were a thriving pirate base with no free Carib people living there anymore. So, the moral of the story is listen to your scientists or you get genocided. Okay, I guess we're going to climb up the ladder now. It's kind of dark in here. I guess that's kind of a point. Yeah, again, this cable could quite easily reach, like, this junction box or any of those two things. Like, cool. Okay, so what we need to do here, we've got this little crank here. Are we gonna... yep, okay, so let's click on one side to move it. We need to make it so that the... Okay, so you can see the disc here, the sphere here. But we're trying to get it so that the light just starts illuminating this one. Oops, moved in the wrong direction. So that'll be at about there. Block this constellation with the sun upstairs. Okay. What constellation is that? We'll try and remember it. And now the light's on. This cable just goes through the wall. Do we have to... Yep. Oh my god, kid, come on. Well, we're certainly going to get hours of entertainment out of this. Today was a busy day, July 8th, 9 o'clock. Mum and Dad decided to make the bunker our base instead of a boat. Everyone, but me, spent the whole day making it secure. I don't know why they're worried about security. There's no one around, and it's illegal for anyone to be. This kid hasn't learned the difference between illegal and impossible. The door to the outside has a big deadbolt, but Mum wanted a way in for emergencies if someone inside needed help. Mum used steel plates left over from the army and built a big box like a combination lock. We had to line up slots in 5 hidden plates to slide the interior deadbolt across. She wrote numbers on the plates that you can see through the holes in the front. So she set the combination to be a combination of all our birthdays, but Sid and I have already decided we're going to change it. We might even put something different instead of numbers, like pictures, for fun. We've already broken this lock. Inside, the ladder up from the entrance is permanent, but the 2 leading to the upper floors are retractable. They drop with a lever. To also make the bunker extra safe, Mum blocked the lever to the top floor with another makeshift combination lock, but 4 separate ones since that was easier to make with the parts she found lying around. She put letters on each of the 4 wheels. This kid's mum is overstepping her bounds at the moment. She's a civil engineer, not a mechanical engineer. So, these are mechanisms, guys. She put letters on each of the 4 wheels, and the combination could be a word, but Sid and I are going to change these 2 into pictures as soon as we decided what to use. On the top floor, opening the 2 exits is done with a heavy crank that actually turns 2 wooden discs as tall as the room until doorway holes appear so you can leave. Yeah, this sounds like something the army built. They were set so you could only open one at a time. For some reason, Mum said it was probably army logic. She says it would not be too hard to change, but there's no reason to. They're not worried about these doors, since no one can enter from outside up here anyway. Sid and Galam carried all my art and craft supplies up from the boat. It took them a lot of trips. While they did, I checked out the weird mechanisms of the middle and top floors. The middle floor has 2 circular rails in the center of the room, with a chair in the middle. In front of the chair is a panel, and a crank that rotates the chair and also can move vertical posts around the tracks if you throw switches on the paddle to lock the post to the chair. It's a long sentence. It's strange how it works. The crank always rotates the chair, but it only moves a post if you throw a lever for that post while it's in front of the chair. Maybe it was some kind of map route. Again, why would the army build this, guys? This doesn't make much sense. As I sat in the chair and looked around, thinking about the eclipse story Dad told last night, it occurred to me that I could be the Earth in the chair, and the near track could be the moon, and the far track could be the sun. The sun doesn't go around the Earth, of course, but it looks like it does. When I had all my supplies, I asked Sid to help me build a model, for fun. I blew up balloons, and then used paper and glue to make big papier-mâché spheres, pictured there. A smaller one I painted like the moon, and a big one I painted yellow to make the sun. We put them on top of the posts on the rails, and Sid wired a light inside the yellow sphere so the sun could shine. Now we can sit in the chair and move the sun and moon, and when the moon gets in between, it eclipses the sun. We can also move the moon around it and see all its phases from the sunlight shining on it. Okay, so it was Gemini was the constellation. It gave Sid an idea for the combination lock, but I was locking the drop ladder to the top floor. He said we should make them the star constellations. Mum told Sid that there are 88 constellations, but throughout the year the sun and moon only pass through 12 of them, called the zodiac. We're learning things today. I didn't know that. I didn't know that that's why they were the zodiac signs. So I painted the 12 zodiac constellations. I knew they were constellations, but I didn't know about the sun moving through them. Around the room, and the combination to drop the ladder is now the constellations that are blocked by the moon in each moon phase shown on the dials. The key you need to work it all out is which constellation is blocked by the sun. If the sun isn't in the right place, the moon phases won't block the right constellations to open the lock. I'm not going to write here what constellation the sun should be in though. That wouldn't be secure. It's Gemini. We know this. Okay, good. Let's see if we can crack this puzzle. I just want to check something real quick. Okay, there's nothing to turn off for hints. So you get those one way or another. Wah! What happened to my... Oh, hang on. Hang on, what's happened? Okay. It locked my mouse for a second there. If you hit space and space again, it brings it back. Alright, here's the room that they were talking about. And here is the combination lock. Okay. Get back from that. Alright, so we need to move the... Sorry, we need to get on over the sun. Unlock it. And now we move with it. We need to find Gemini. That's Gemini there. Okay. So now these are linked to the phases. So we need each half new and full. Okay. Is the moon locked in? The moon is not locked in. Lock in the moon. Okay, so that's full moon right there. Oh, sorry, not full. That's new moon. So that means new moon is going to be Gemini. There we go. I mean, you know what? There is a much easier way of doing this. Whatever that is, I guess. I don't know. Looks like a warrior, I guess. So there's the head, there's the shield. Yeah. I don't know. That one. Okay, and then we look directly across. Okay, so this will be that side there. So whatever that is. Whoops, we were just there. We've got to go all the way around. So what I've done here is we know that the new moon is when it's in front of the sun. The full moon is when it's on the other side. And the half moons are in between. So I think it's going to be that one there. Again, whatever that is. Like, seriously, I don't know what that is. Cancer, maybe? That's it. Simple. Okay, guys, it's been about an hour, so we're going to call this the end of the episode. We will be continuing this. This is a fun little game that I'm finding, even with all the reading. I don't know if it saves. Might just do it all in one shot, I'm not sure. But either way, that's the end of the episode. So I've been Sub, you've been yourselves. Later.